All right, first of all, thank you all for coming. This is the 20th anniversary celebration of the MBCC, which stands for? You're awesome, you're awesome. Either Martha or I made cookies. You're welcome to have a cookie or two. Go for it. If they're not all gone, you're in trouble. Mudville baseball's been here for 20 years now since it was started. It's been such a great opportunity to get together and dream of dreams. The places we've gone, the things that we've done, the friends that we've made have been very, very special. The friends that we've made have been very, very special. It's all been good to meet you people. You're welcome to come in and sit in the grass too. Sit in someone else's chair. Go for it. But it's been a good time. We started out in town, and we've grown to the field of dreams. We've been all over the place. It's been nothing but phenomenal, and we have different people talking about different things. John told me it's a 5-minute limit per person, so I got a minute and a half left to fill. All right.
Peter's just getting here. Could you start over?
Peter who? If you're lucky and fortunate to be a player, you'll have some different kind of memories of the games, where you played, what you played. Everyone remembers the World War I reenactment scene where we played ball out in Chicago. Someone else might recall dinner in Baltimore. Someone else might recall a fish tank. Name any names. Gettysburg. Oh, thank you very much. We all had our opportunities, our memories, and they were very great times. And appreciate everyone being part of it, going through with it. It's been awesome. Now, to get going, it's 5:04, but I started a minute early. And our first speaker is going to be a guy named Bobby Blair at Blair Square.
Put on the tie for everything. Where's John?
Yes, sir.
Make a note of it. 20 years. It's like, wow, doesn't seem possible. And Jay, he just reminded me the year I went down to Hartford and marched with all you guys in the St. Patrick's Day Parade and passing the reviewing stand. The mayor was up there, so we got a picture of the mayor and the mayor. The only thing that came back to haunt me, I feel like Trump or someone, that mayor was indicted and went off to jail. So we're not going to show that picture. But thanks for representing Mudville. We're becoming famous in our old age. Right down on Exchange Street, we had, and he moved this spring, the commander of the USS Constitution. We had a player for, soccer player for the Revolution living on Pleasant Street. We have the state rep living on Mechanic Street. We have a select woman living on Union Street. I think we've covered just about everything. So, anybody want to run for selectman? Peter's already been there. So, thank you.
Looking back, we all have some memories. And we played a game at Doubleday Field.
Yep.
There was a fence out there.
Yep.
I hit the fence on a bounce. Because I was behind second base when I started.
And Eddie hit the tree that was out over the left field wall.
That was crazy. That was crazy. So we've all had some memories. Alan Goldberg, what's your fondest memory of a road trip?
That would be PG.
PG. Let me revise it. I would be paying the bill in Baltimore.
What was that, Bill?
It's like $1,147. I actually still have it.
And the rookies were left
Is that
to
the
pay
bar
the
bill?
bill.
It's the bar bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rookies were left to pay the bill.
Wow, that was crazy.
Nobody's still bitter.
I think Mudville started down the road. Wasn't there a field down there? There was a Shea Drive was a baseball field. Yes, sir.
Shea Drive.
Yeah, over there, right, over there.
Ward 9. I don't think it's Mudville though. I think it's Ward 9, right? Isn't it?
Ward 4.
Ward 4. Excuse me. Thank you. See? Because the line here. This is the line that the wrong side of the tracks, basically.
And who played there?
Well, I assume Farmer Shea played there. This is his farm.
Casey played there?
Did Casey play there? More than likely.
More than likely.
More than likely, yeah. Now,
It was-
they had a lot of celebrities come up from Boston to play on there also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and also it was, as long as Mr. Shea would allow the people to come there, of course you had to pay rent and everything. And when he got disgruntled, you have to go back to Green Street.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, and Green Street is the longest continuously utilized baseball field in Massachusetts, despite what Clinton, Massachusetts says. All right? They forgot about us.
At Green Street Field, who played there when they were 8 years old?
Yeah.
Here. Just one person? I have a team picture of you. You didn't look very happy in the team picture.
The 66 Cubs,
Yeah.
National League champs.
Yeah, you didn't look very happy. That was nice. Like, next we have Joanne Halbert.
No.
Come on down. Well, I made you lose a few minutes
All
of
right,
the
yes,
story.
okay, all right.
You can tell us whatever you want to tell us, and then we'll
Okay.
ask questions.
All right. What I want to tell you is why? Why the Mudville Baseball Club? Well, the reason is because Holliston was extremely important and involved in early Massachusetts baseball. We were one of the first teams that organized with the so-called Dedham Convention in 1858. We were playing a little bit before that. That's when the teams were organized. So our history in Holliston and baseball goes all the way back to the very earliest days of the Massachusetts game. Now the thing is, Massachusetts game was a whole lot different in many different ways than the New York style. New York style, of course, was not considered to be the most proper way to play baseball. But Massachusetts was. Of course, that died out after the Civil War. But the thing is that even through the war and all the way to today, there has always been baseball played in Holliston, and the Mudville baseball team honors that tradition and keeps it going. I have right here one of the baseballs that we used back 20 years ago, and as you can see, we pretty much knocked the cover off the ball, just like the poem says. So the thing is that baseball tradition and history is so intertwined with Holliston history, you could never untangle them. And it's all the way up to today. Think about that when you're down at Green Street. Now we see the so-called stone bleachers behind you. Well, another thing is that the bleachers that you see made out of stone at Green Street, they were built in 1924. Here's another 100-year history that's coming up. So think about that when you're sitting on those out there. But all of that is tied up with Holliston history, and it is an honor for all of you to have kept that tradition up, because not only did you play by some of the old 19th century rules, but you were one of the few teams that even tried to play by the real Massachusetts rules that were codified in 1858, because Holliston was on that committee at that convention. And not only that, the second president of the Massachusetts Association was actually from Holliston, Peter Rogers Johnson. By the way, he was also a state senator, and he was a politician and also a boot and shoe manufacturer. But he was the second president of that association. He also was a player. And I don't know of any other place in baseball history where you have a player president. that was playing for the team and yet running the entire association. So Holliston's history, we should be very proud of it, and we should congratulate and thank the Mudville baseball team for keeping that tradition up. Thank you.
Questions?
Questions? You have a question? I knew you would have to. All right.
Shea Field or Goodwill Field, which one was being used first?
In the 1850s, actually they were both, because there were enough teams in order to keep two fields going. Shea Field, the one that was rented from Mr. Shea, was as early as the 1850s, but so was Green Street. Green Street had been the field where the militia would, practice marching and all that, and actually the American Legion Hall that we know about as the veterinary facility now used to be right there across from Green Street. That was where the militia practiced. Now, the militias died out like around 1850. What was going to take its place? Baseball teams in the 1850s, and they were playing there. Okay. Yeah, there is an old picture of an old team. Nobody knows exactly the date, but it is probably sometime in the late 19th century of a team that is sitting there having their group portrait taken, and that was at Green Street. Also, Clinton, Mass., who said that they had the oldest team in 1875, in 1876 they came to Holliston to play, but we were already playing years before that. So we have the oldest baseball field in Massachusetts,
Yes.
not Clinton.
Another question.
Another question, you have another question, okay.
Who's Casey?
Who is Casey? Okay. Ernest Thayer, who wrote the poem. By the way, I found out, because I was challenged by another baseball historian, to find out Ernest Thayer, and he was related to a few others. I found out that I'm his fifth cousin 5 times removed. But that's it. But it's easy to do. Anyway, Ernest Thayer was very embarrassed about the popularity of the poem. He was supposed to be this fine, dignified gentleman of upper class and all that, and he would write off these poems and send it off to William Randolph Hearst. But anyway, Casey, when he was finally cornered, Ernest said, "Oh, there was a kid that was in my high school class, and his name was Casey. He just took the name and ran with it." The odd thing is, though, that all of these names, Casey, Barrows, Flynn, all of those names, and Cooney especially, were all names from around here. Now, the year before that poem came out, there was a game up at Milford, and it was between Holliston and the Milford Town team. And you know what? On that Holliston team were a bunch of guys from Mudville. Could have found out about it that way. But Casey, all those Irish names, now either Ernest was making fun of the Irish people, but that's always possible in the 1888. But he would not say anything more than that. Now, lots of other baseball players all wanted to be Casey, such as King Kelly. He said, "Oh no, that was me." Well, Ernest Thayer would never own up to who exactly it was. He probably just took the names from society around him, and so there's probably no actual real Casey. We do have Caseys that were in Mudville. Cooneys were very popular up in Milford, and all the other names like Barrows and everything were all names that were from this area. And also Thayer, his summer farm was up in Mendon.
Did Ernest Thayer's father own a shop over here in Holliston?
It wasn't his father.
Oh.
Okay, you'll be down at Mill Pond. There was a mill down there, and it was somebody in his family, and it was not his father though.
Okay.
But they,
Ernest Thayer may have been in the area at the time.
Yeah. Oh, well, the thing is that, like the Thayer family, for instance, Ernest Thayer, that they were old. It was an old family in Mendon and Milford, so they were here in the area, and there's Thayers in Holliston too. Of course, one of them was a Tory, but we won't get into that. But so that's what we got. All right, you're next.
Any more questions? I asked them all. Don't leave yet. Just,
What?
a Mudville question.
Oh, a Mudville
Mudville
question?
Baseball Club firmly believes that, Casey at the bat So this Mudville from Holliston went to Stockton, California. Ever heard of Stockton, California?
Oh, I've heard of Stockton, California. Well, their claim is that Ernest there was out there sowing his wild oats after college because he had been at Harvard with William Randolph Hearst. And he went out there to, get away from his probably, tight-laced parents and everything. And the thing was that Stockton says that they found on a little slip of paper somewhere the word Mudville, which they attributed to the fact that the rivers coming down into the bay were muddy, and so therefore it was Mudville. Now that's really stretching
Big
things.
time.
Big time.
Big time.
We have been known in Holliston, in the neighborhood, as Mudville since at least 1856.
Well, to
Yeah.
prove that point is
Yeah.
the Mudville Baseball Club went to Stockton, California
Yes.
to play the Stockton team. John, what was the name of that team from Stockton?
The Amador County Crushers.
The Amador County Crushers, who kept saying that they were the original home of Casey at the bat and Mudville Baseball Club.
Yeah.
We went out there,
Oh, but this is important.
and how did Mighty Casey's team do?
We lost.
And how did we do?
We lost.
We lost.
To prove that we are the original Mudville.
Kevin, that's part of my presentation.
All right, thank
All right.
you, Joe, very much.
All right, yeah, okay.
Hey, high five.
All right.
Next, the birth of the MBBC by Choo Choo John Shanahan.
Thank you. It's a delight to see everybody. This whole thing goes back to a conversation that Joanne and I had probably in 2002 when she suggested there be a game played by the Massachusetts rules of 1858 by two teams in Holliston. Now the two teams that were chosen to play were based on a game from 1937, I believe, between the East Holliston Terraplanes. Terraplane was a car made by the Hudson Car Company, and there was a dealer down at Gates Garage or something. Call it Dunkin' Donuts. And they were playing against the Firemen, and they were having this heated game, and the game ended, and everyone was upset, and the game was never completed. So this was going to be a continuation and completion of that game. So Joanne contacted me. We picked a date that coincided with Celebrate Holliston, and I put together a team that was comprised of neighbors, friends, and softball teammates. Now, the Guns and Hoses was the term used for the other team, which was made up of firemen and police. And we had a great advantage over them in the fact that we were playing ball at the time, a lot of us in the softball league. And these guys, regular guys around town who didn't play. So when the game ended 88-24, you might say we had a better time than they did. And it's probably a good thing that we did, because if we didn't have such a good time, there might not have been a second game which occurred the next year. But we were really pumped up. It was a lot of fun when you win by 60. So the next year we played them again, and then a team called the Library Cards came into play. And they can continue from that point. But that started, it was 2003, we became the Mudville Baseball Club. We essentially moved uptown from East Holliston to the Mudville neighborhood and went high class, so we've been high class ever since. So, good for us.
Thank you, John. You were a big hitter back then. You got it going. No count, right?
No comment.
Okay. No Greg. Don't say Greg Lewis.
No.
Oh, next we still have Alan. Go Bird!
Oh, Billy Ewer.
Bill Lewis after. No?
Together, same team.
Oh, Bill Ewer, come on down.
You're
Alan, he's changing the order they have.
Good. He's a better talker than I am.
Bill Ewer is famous for what? That too. But he was a famous baseball player 20 years ago?
8 years.
I think that's a long time ago. Tell us about the team.
Well, we were the foil. We came on the year after. I was one of the trustees of the library here, and came up with this idea that, and talking to Joanne, was that, we'd do a fundraiser, try to get people to join the Friends of the Library and do some things. So I got together with a bunch of guys and just asked them to get together. And I said we would be called the Holliston Friends of the Library Cardinals. Yes, and for short, it would be the Holliston Library Cards. Yeah, you got it. We just got together the following year. I think it was 4 teams played locally in town based on something Joanne put together, and we played the fire department, the police department. I think at that point, most of you guys was that the Terraplanes who was moving to Mudville?
Yes.
So, yeah. And I think it rained a lot that year. I think we only played 2 or 3 games and stuff, but that was our small part. And like I said, we were the foils. We came in there and we just went out there and tried to raise some money for the local Friends of the Library. That's about all I have.
Who was on your team that's here right now?
I've got all my notes here, and I do not have the rosters.
Was Alan Gilbert? Come over here.
So Alan might remember.
I remember.
Does your memory go that far back?
Yes, it does. And actually, I can show you the replay of the last. I can show you the replay of the last out that should have been until we were cheated out of the win.
What was that? Show me that.
The play was the library team was up, I think, by 3 in the last inning, and in the final out, I got a pop up from, I don't remember the batter, but the play happened that I caught the ball. If you notice, my toes are on the ground, my heels are off the ground. That was ruled in 1858, not allowing the feet off the ground was not allowed. Somehow Joanne found this in the fine print somewhere, and the batter was ruled safe, and the team eventually won. So I figured, hey, if you can't beat them, join them. So I joined the team the next year.
Nobody else is on that team, right? That was here.
Mark.
Mark was his. Golden.
He
Where's
was
Mark? Oh, Mark's not here, I don't think.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, those old time games were a lot of blast. The cards and the terraplanes, the guns and hoses, playing down the street. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time to get together and meet people, and people you didn't know that well in town became friends. And it was great for bringing the community together, and I think it still is today. Next we have the Mudville Early Years by Jay Wyman. Jay, Early Years. And you're welcome to call on anybody for any questions you want. You can make them come up and stay next to you if you need support.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay, the early years. You just heard all about the early years. Everyone told you the early years. So I'm just going to tell you a few things that I remember happening. The first one was our first trip to Cooperstown. We all got in the bus, rode up to Cooperstown. Bus obviously gets a flat tire, you know, an omen of things to come for this team. And we're out in the parking lot throwing the ball that Joanne showed us, throwing that around a little bit. And then we came to a cornfield. This is a fake cornfield. This isn't the real one that someone's probably going to talk about later. But we took a picture coming out of that cornfield, so we did that. And then we had maybe the most famous play, or one of the most famous plays in the history of Mudville baseball, when our own Ariel Campus Hall, who is about 6'1", 6'2", probably, I'll be good, 220. There was a little kid about this big. Little kid about this big, running, I think he was running home, right? And the rules were, as they explained, you either had to catch the ball in the air with your feet on the ground, or you had to soak the runner, which means you had to hit the runner with the ball. Well, Ariel did that. He soaked the poor kid, and wicked hard. And we heard, it was 3 or 4 months later, he was out of the hospital recovering fine. So, great job for you. Another trip I remember is a trip we took down to Maryland, and that's a trip where a lot of cool stuff happened. But the biggest thing was what we found out was we playing, I think it was outside of a prison, right? Right, outside of a prison, And the scoreboard keeper there seemed to have been more interesting than the game itself. I'll just put it that way. And so, you know, half the team was playing ball and half the team was watching this, just to make sure we're scoreboard watching, just like they do in the big leagues, right?
Hey,
Scoreboard
Jay,
watching.
Jay, what gender was the scoreboard person?
What was she?
Well, today you can't say. You can't say what gender, but she was pretty nice looking. She's probably like the Jay Wyman of scoreboard keepers. So anyway, so we went and we did that, and then that night, after everything was going, a bunch of us were going around. It was outside a little bit, and I think that's the night I think where we did the blue. Isn't that the night we did the blue? And there's this blue liqueur that
God, that's right.
remember that? And Peter Barbieri, he was never drunk. He just had a lot of the blue stuff. So Sunday morning comes along after a long night with Peter, and he gets up and he looks okay, but you know, we'll see. So he gets out there, and I got to tell you, you played the game of your life. Absolutely. I don't know if anyone remembers this. Pitching, fielding, hitting is the best thing in business. So he's still playing because he's got a blue shirt on. So if you get a chance, buy him a bottle of blue before you go in a tournament, and you got a winner there. So that's some of the things that I remember. But I do want to say just one thing to a lot of people who sometimes think that this was a team that just goes out and played like a Sunday morning beer league type play. Mudville played real competition. It was serious ball. I mean, you played these other teams. They came from all over. We traveled all over the United States, and it was in Canada twice. You know, we won tournaments in Colorado, won tournaments in Canada. We did all of that, and so it's very serious. It was very serious ball. So don't think that it was just a lot of funny games. Afterwards, it was almost always fun and games. Except for one time when we played the New York Gothams.
Wicked.
The New York Gothams thought they could jibber jabber against us. We were always one of the older teams playing, average age wise, the older teams playing. They start jibber jabbering and blabbing away and disrespecting Mudville. And I think by the end of the game, they were very sorry they did. Let me just leave it like that. So. Thank you all very much, and thanks everyone for coming.
Hey, Ariel, come over here. Come over here. Where did the name Ariel come from? Was that Ariel from one of these new movies kids watch?
Okay. You recall, Shanahan drags me out of bed. It says we need another guy and a place to play.
And
that's how I joined the team.
So he kind of volunteered you.
So he says you need a name. I went to the cemetery on Rockland Street. I looked for the oldest gravestone, and his name was Ariel Bragg. That's how I got the name.
Fascinating. And thank you for all the years of let us use your field, too.
Okay, and I got a question for Joanne.
Yes.
Okay, baseball. You know all about baseball.
Oh, I know a little bit, yeah.
Okay, those foul lines.
There were no foul lines in Massachusetts game.
The foul lines, are they foul?
Oh, the foulest lines you never want to see because you can't.
I heard the foul lines are actually fair. And I heard that foul pole, I heard that's fair too. The whole game's a line.
That's what New York said.
Oh, thank you very much. So you can tell as the years go on, the fun kept building and building. I wasn't going to mention the blue, but wow. I got some pictures that night. They were awesome. Next, we got Mudville on the road with Peter Barbieri.
Who knew?
Mudville on the road. I goes,
Well, you could have told me.
oh, John told you. You were in the email.
Gotta read your email.
All right, tell about, what was your first road trip?
A broken down bus to Cooperstown. Everybody remember that? And where was it? Howard Johnson's. We were all out playing catch in the parking lot, and that was kind of the first thing that brought Mudville, I think, together as a family, because all the families were there, and little kids and everything else, and that was a great time. But I mean, we had great trips from here to California, by broken down bus, by train was a good trip, by plane, and Jay recognized it had a propeller, and jet, and horse and carriage, and Ferrick on his little rider in New York City. So, I mean, we got there every way. Trolley with Alan in the front of the trolley. So we got to every game in every way possible, probably more than they did back when they were playing the game the way we played it. So
Who was the team we played that was older than us? Was it Minnesota or Michigan?
I don't think we ever played a team older than us.
That never happened.
Saginaw?
They were not older
The
than us.
Ohio Metal Muffins, we never played them.
Oh, we didn't?
They were a bunch of 70-year-old guys.
We might have won.
That's not
Way older.
The other team probably older than us was the team in Denver with you know, when we played on the Gopher-filled halls. That was the one time we won a tournament. It was a good time, and Johnny, I think, still has the trophy lamp in his house. So, but I mean, it's been a great time for 20 years, and thank God for Capo taking over so that all you new guys can follow up and have as much fun as we did. But traveling it was a great thing of the Mudville family.
All right, you get to call up the next person and answer a few questions. Who do you want to call up? You wanna ask him something? You have to-
Davey,
you have 10
Davey's
minutes.
the best.
Davey, come on up. All right, so we get on this side. So Dave, where'd the name Hops come from?
When we first put the team together, Johnny asked us all to write like a little bio, so I hate writing. And I just said, well, my story was ran away from my wealthy brewing family to play ball.
If you were the Ruin family, we would have joined you.
I know. Well, now we got Jack, so we're good.
That's true. That's very good. Very good. Any fond memories of any specific trips?
Oh, boy. Field of Dreams.
Which one? We played the Field of Dreams in, oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. Field of Dreams. San Francisco was a ball. And tried to single out.
Cooperstown.
Cooperstown. Probably, other than Field of Dreams, I think my favorite field we ever played at was in Central Park. That was just, I mean, it's Central Park. I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
When you were a selectman, did you ever run a meeting?
No. That's why I'm not there anymore. I tell you, we're still playing some local fields, and some of my favorite fields were Spencer Pierce Field. Who likes Spencer Pierce Field? Raise your hand. Who knows where it is? Raise your hand. Spencer Pierce. How about George's Island? That's right. Amazing. My favorite is still Boston Common. Absolutely my favorite field. We played there a couple of games ago. I didn't play, I was sick that time, but I was there.
That's why it was good.
We played a team at Boston Common, and our average age is like 58. Their average age is like 24. They kept putting the ball over the fence the whole time. Yeah, Boston Union. So I think we called them ground rule doubles after that, right?
Remember the guy who was batting me? Is he hitting into the cemetery? I thought it was that ball.
That's right. That's right. Very right. So, just thinking of the favorite fields, and you know, the Field of Dreams, I believe, has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think it stands out there now.
No. That's
No,
behind
beyond
it. Behind the cornfield.
Behind the cornfield field's still the same.
Yes.
Oh, thank goodness.
They built the parks for the Major League.
Yeah. Oh God, tonight. We get pictures of us coming out of the corn. That was a really nice trip. Okay, next on the list, Mudville in the Media by Steve McCumber.
So Kevin,
Yeah.
stop looking at your watch. This is going to probably go a little longer than 5 minutes.
Oh, I hope it does because we have 8 minutes to go.
Okay. So, ever since we started, you know, I think you were the originator of Holliston Net News, weren't you?
I wrote for it.
Yeah, okay. But eventually now the Holliston Reporter, they covered in the Milford Daily News and the Metro West Daily News, covered a lot of the stuff that we did locally in the beginning. They, you know, no matter what we did, they were always covering us. But the first time we actually made like national media attention, and John, I did a little research on this, and I want to talk to Bobby and Joanne. There was a New York Times reporter by the name of Katie Zazima, and in March of 2004, she wrote an article in the Times talking about the two Mudvilles, Stockton, California, Holliston, Mass, trying to make a case for each. Both Joanne and Bob were actually quoted in that article, so I'm assuming this is just something, because this is 2004. This is before any of this started. So I think she was just interested in the subject and reached out to them, and it was a really, really cool article. But we're going to put her aside for a second, and we will come back to her a little bit later. 2006 was the first year that we had talked about going to Cooperstown, but that was the first year we did real travel. We actually took 2 trips. And before the first one, which was down to Baltimore, Channel 25 had a thing called the Zip Tour. So they came over and spent an afternoon over at Town Hall, and there was a couple antique cars, and there were a bunch of pictures, and as soon as that was over, I think we all jumped in our cars and started driving down to Baltimore. Later that summer, we went to Chicago. We were invited to play up in Chicago. We had a game in Lincoln Park, which I don't know if anybody is familiar with Chicago. It's on the north side, right on the lake. Beautiful, beautiful park with big oak trees that in vintage baseball were in play, so people were catching balls off trees and stuff. But that weekend, the Red Sox are in town, so we went to see the Red Sox and the White Sox at that White Sox monstrosity stadium, I don't even know the name. And we had made arrangements, I think Carl Damagella started this, with Tina Sabasio, who was the Nesson field reporter for the Red Sox. And talked to Tina about maybe we're going to be out, this Massachusetts team's going to be out in Chicago, maybe, you know, you can do a spot between one of the innings. And when we walked into the stadium, our seats were in the upper deck, and that stadium has to be the highest, most vertical stadium anybody has ever seen. But we saw Tina in the field, and we all started screaming at her. So she came up and talked to us, and she said, yeah, we're going to try to do something. Now, this was a Sunday before the All-Star break, the last game of the first half of the season. Now, what people forget, everyone remembers the Red Sox broke their curse in 2004. Most people don't realize that the Chicago White Sox won the 2005 World Series. I didn't even remember it, but they did. So this was sort of the last 2 World Series championships were playing each other. So the other thing we all remember was about 95 degrees, sweltering hot upstairs. So about the 3rd inning, Tina literally walked back upstairs again and met with us, and she said, I'm pitching this to my producers, but they don't know. So I can't tell you if we're going to do anything or not. So she took a phone number and she said, I'll let you know. So then about the 7th inning, she called us. The game was 2-2 at the time. And she said, you know, my producers are again saying it's a close game. Maybe if it goes into extra innings, we'll potentially be able to do something. So luckily the game was tied 2-2. And then it started going into extra innings, and it went into many extra innings. And you know, Tina eventually called us up at the end of the 15th inning. She said, we're going to be able to do something in the middle of the 16th inning as long as the game doesn't end. So, you know, a lot of people here were at that game. This was before DVR, so everyone had their family at home ready to hit the VCR record button to catch this. But, you know, we didn't know what time it was going on, so nobody could tell us. So my phone rang in the 15th inning, and actually Tina had my number, so I said, yeah. So I picked it up. It was my son Matt. He was saying, Dad, you know, your story must really suck, because between the last inning they kept on panning the stands and showing people sleeping. But in the middle of the 16th inning, Carl Damagella had given Tina a Mudville shirt. She literally walked out of the dugout on the field, did a story. They put the camera up in the upper deck, and we're all yelling and screaming. And So I think that was our first real national exposure.
Yes.
So let me just quickly look at my notes here and what's next. I think, okay, we're going to jump back to Katie at the New York Times. So when she wrote that first article, she actually indicated in that article that maybe a good way for this story to be settled would be to play a baseball game. And that lit a little spark in John and Joanne, who then spent like the next 5 years trying to figure out if we could logistically pull this off. Now, one of the issues was vintage baseball was not that big in California, having a hard time finding a team. So finally, John connected with this team called the Amador County Crushers, who were about 25 miles from Stockton. They agreed to play us, but they were playing the vintage rules of 1886, which the game had totally changed from what we're playing. Overhand pitching, gloves, even though they were small gloves, they were like garden gloves. Catcher's equipment, the one hop rule wasn't in effect anymore. So we came to an agreement with them that we're gonna play a 7-inning game. The first 3 innings we were gonna play by our rules, which these guys have never played. The next 3 innings we play by their rules, overhand pitching, and then the 7th inning, which whatever team was ahead at the end of 6. So we started, and these guys were all in their 20s and 30s. And people may not remember this, but this was true. We were talking to some of the crushers before the game. They're saying, you guys are really, really lucky because our normal pitcher, the week before was given a minor league contract by the Oakland A's. So we didn't get a chance to see him. So the first 3 innings, we lost 4-2. They were just big hitters, and then the next 3 innings, Alan Goldberg, I think, spent a couple innings on the mound. I can't even remember who else pitched, but we hung in there. And when the game finally ended,
well.
Excuse me,
He pitched well.
he pitched well. The game finally ended, and we had lost by the score of 10-4. So the New York Times actually sent their West Coast correspondent to that game. His name was Jordan Kahn. I looked up today. He wrote an article on Monday just covering the game. So we actually had national coverage on that game. And the last paragraph was that article was a quote from the mayor that Kevin already sort of indicated, saying that just like you said, this proves that Holliston is the real Mudville. Just like the poem, we lost. So, let's see, what is next here? Okay, a big year, 2015. A number of things happened that year. One of the first things was the publication of this book called 101 Baseball Places to See Before You Strike Out. I like the little metaphor there about striking out. I think he means before you hit the dirt nap. And we are included in here. This is a local Massachusetts author. His name is Josh Pahigian. Came to Casey's, spent some time with us. We had book signing, real good time. Soon after that, USA Today put out an article talking about 10 baseball pilgrimages everybody needs to make. Mudville was on that list as well. Then, in the summer, I believe it was in July, a team we've played many often, we still do, the Dirigo Baseball Club up in Maine, invited us up. And a couple days before, we found out that they had made arrangements with the CBS Evening News to cover this game. So it was played in an old minor league ballpark in Old Orchard Beach. And the CBS News team, they had cameras, they spent the entire day there. Chip Reed, who is one of their senior correspondents, he still does stories for them. If anybody watches this news, spent the entire day there. And when the thing was finally put together and shown a couple nights later, it had everything. It had some interviews with Dirigo players, Mudville players, a lot of the action on the field. And lo and behold, it also had an exciting ending. So we were down 1 run in the last of the 9th inning. And somebody got a base hit, and Greg Ferrick was on second, and he rounds third, and coming to home to try to score the tying run, slides, but unfortunately he was out. It was caught vividly on that. It was really cool.
It was only 2 feet short of the bay.
Yes, yeah. He started sliding. He started sliding about halfway down, and then. All right, and then later that fall, John might remember the connection on this, but there was a young woman in Holliston whose brother supposedly worked for the Travel Channel, which is a cable channel. And the Travel Channel had started a series called 36 Hours, which they went to a number of cities and put together a 90-minute show about things to do in these various cities if you had a day and a half to go. They did Boston. The show was hosted by 2 people, a local chef by the name of Kristen Kish, and a guy by the name of Kyle Martino, who used to play in the U.S. men's national soccer team. Again, there was a Holliston connection there that got to the producers, and somebody suggested, let's do a vintage baseball thing, part of this. So Kristen Kish and Kyle Martino came out to Goodwill Field. We split ourselves into 2 teams. We gave them each uniforms and just played an 1858's game. And it was a very, very cool piece that, probably about a 4-minute segment that they did on us. It was really good. So, one last thing left. I'll get my other prop in a minute. So, early 1917, Andy the Boomer Porter, who many of you know, ended up getting a call from a college friend that he hadn't heard from in years and years, a guy by the name of Dave Chapman. Now, Dave is a regional movie producer. Whenever a movie is going to be filmed in the Boston area, typically the director will get a hold of him and start working out the logistics of what's going to have to happen to make sure that the filming is going to be successful. So, soon after Dave met with the director of the film, a guy by the name of Ben Lewin, who was an elderly Australian gentleman who had been afflicted with polio at age 6. He spent most of his time in his motorized wheelchair, although, with 2 crutches, he could get up and stagger around a little bit. So Ben knew nothing about baseball. So let me talk about the movie. The movie was called The Catcher Was a Spy. It was based on a true story of a guy by the name of Mo Berg, who was a number of things. He was the first Jewish Major League Baseball player. He played for about 16 years in the 20s and 30s. Spent a good chunk of his career with the Red Sox. He was a brilliant man. He had degrees from Princeton, Columbia, the Sorbonne in Paris. He knew 9 languages. He was just like a savant of epic proportion. And he was a good defensive catcher, but he really couldn't hit that well. But as everybody knows, if you have good defensive skills, you can last in the major leagues for a long time. So the movie had actually, most of the filming of the movie happened in Czechoslovakia and was already completed. The last thing they needed to do is that they wanted to film some baseball scenes at Fenway Park. So that's why the director, Ben Lewin, was meeting with Dave Chapman. So Ben starts asking his questions. Well, do you have any baseball players? So there had been some baseball scenes filmed in Czechoslovakia. So the director had 5 players from the Czechoslovakia national team who agreed to come and spend a day in Boston doing some filming. So he says, yeah, we got like 5 for the Czech national team. So Dave goes like, we need 2 teams, we need coaches, we need umpires, we need all sorts of other things. So to make a long story short, Dave realized that he needed to start moving on this pretty quickly. So he called Andy. He knew about Andy's involvement with the Mudville baseball team and said, listen, I know you guys are mostly old, but again, we need umpires, we need coaches, and we also need you to start recruiting a lot of young baseball players from Holliston and to come in and be in this movie. So we got together all these people. Most of our team went. Besides the players on the field, they actually also had 600 people to fill the stands. And what they did is that they ended up, like every time they had a film, they pretty much filmed one section. And then these people had to move to another part of the stadium for the next scene. It was sort of hilarious. But a bunch of our players ended up being in the stands, but a few of us got to get on the field as well. The star was Paul Rudd, who I think most people know. The movie had a great cast. Sienna Miller, Jeff Daniels, Paul Giamatti. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. But so at Fenway, we had to report at 5 a.m., like on a Thursday morning. The whole plan was to film 3 scenes that probably would have taken up about 2.5 minutes of the movie. In reality, 2 of the scenes were cut, so only one of them ended up getting included in the film. But luckily, that particular scene had a very large Holliston influence in it. You know, the scene starts with the camera panning home plate, where the batter, which is Mike DeFazio, is sort of getting into the batter's box. And the home plate umpire, which was Kevin Conley, has got his old 1936 umpiring gear on. Paul Rudd is behind Kevin, or in front of Kevin, actually. So the scene was simple. There was a runner on first base. That actual runner was Adam Camilli from Holliston. There were 2 outs in the inning, and Mo Berg, Paul Rudd, the catcher, just had in his mind, through his intellect, that the runner was going to be stealing. So he does 2 things. First, he looks down on the third base line where the Washington Senators' third base coach was giving a bunch of frenetic signs. Something was going to happen. Mr. Goldberg right there. So then he flashes the sign to the pitcher, and I know I'm going way over time, but there's a funny story about the pitcher. We might not tell it now. The pitcher shakes him off. So Paul Rudd is getting pissed at him, and he gives the same sign for fastball, and the pitcher shakes him off. So he eventually throws a changeup. Adam Camilli breaks and goes to second base, but Rudd still gets the ball, whips it down to second. The runner is tagged out. That actually was called out by Mike McKenna, who was the second base umpire. So Berg and the pitcher are walking in after the end of the inning, and Berg starts yelling at him, don't shake me off. I knew he was stealing. And then but it was just a really, really good time. So when we finally saw the movie and saw that that was the only scene that was included, it was sort of cool to see a bunch of Holliston people in it. But it was clear that the winner of the Best Supporting Actor from the Mudville Baseball Club was our third base coach, Alan Goldberg. They had him on camera for about 10 seconds.
How could they see him? How could they see him?
It was 2.4. I timed it.
Time. Okay, one more thing.
I was on for 20 seconds.
Okay, one more thing. So Alan's big, it's probably one of the biggest debuts of anybody. But in reality, he almost didn't make it there. He almost didn't make it. 2 issues he had to deal with. So the first one, we went into the morning. This place was like, remember, 600 people. They had people dressing people and curling women's hair and all sorts of other stuff. So somebody comes up to Alan and says, it's got to come off. He says, what do you mean? The goatee's got to go off. Any facial hair, they shaved off. So Alan, goes to us and he starts saying, geez, I don't want to necessarily do this. His daughter was getting married in a couple weeks. He didn't know if it was going to grow back in time. But eventually, we pushed him into the room. The guy came out with the clippers, clipped it off.
And we all started watching him. He got so ticked off, he went around to the back room and had it shaved off all by himself.
Correct. His face was like a baby's bum. So,
17, so it would have been 20 years.
So the last thing, when they were about to film this scene, I was actually the first base coach for the Senators, but all the action was on the other, so I knew I wasn't going to get on the, on camera or anything. But there was just a ton of activity going on around third base. They were moving cameras. Mr. Levine had his motorized wheelchair dragging over there. He was giving instructions to people left and right. They actually had a boom with a light that they were readjusting. And finally, the director yelled at a couple guys who ran off into the clubhouse or something. And 5 minutes later, they came out with a wooden box. It seems that Mr. Goldberg was a little height challenged for this particular role. So the box was brought up, they told Alan stand on it. They started filming the scene, so when anybody sees the movie and they're wondering why you can only see Alan from the ankles up, that's the reason. So here is the, there's probably hundreds of these roaming around town. I think the movie is still available on demand on things like Netflix and Amazon. But and one last thing. So nothing happened until, media-wise, until this year, March of this year. Another reporter from Channel 25 came here and did a piece on Casey at the Bat that was acted out by members of the team, and Joanne and Bobby were involved, and actually John McCarthy was involved. And from what we understand, we heard that that was nominated for a New England News Emmy. Wasn't that an email going around about
The
that?
guy indicated the possibility exists today.
Okay, possibility. Okay, I'm done.
Are you ready for something?
I don't live here anymore.
You do a great job. Capo, come on down. Angelo D'Amato, who was taking the reins from John Channing, and he's doing phenomenal.
Thank you, Kevin. Hey guys. So this would not be the same experience without all of you, all the families and friends in the community coming out to celebrate this with us. And so when I was thinking about what to say, I was thinking, what is Mudville? What does the Mudville team mean to me? What does this represent? And this is what it represents. It's gathering, all of us gathering together. This is an embodiment of what this team and what this community represents and what John created and the founders of this team created. So I'm just honored to be part of this tradition, part of this team. And one of the things I'm most proud of is welcoming in new players. And we have a couple of them here today, so I want to point them out. Mike Splinter McKenna is right there. The younger McKenna. There's a guy next to him that I want to get on the team at some point. I mean, he's trying to duck me, but yeah.
You can't hide.
So I'll make it short. Thank you again. I'm going to be working on scheduling for next season, right? I have, and he's here. Oh, I didn't see you. Okay, Chris Moneybags Ennis is here as well. Thank you. We also, I don't think Alex is here or Jack, right? Okay. But yeah, that's one of the things I'm most proud of is being able to welcome new players in. And when I think back at when I first started, Todd Ace Cagno's here. He gave me a call and asked me to play a number of years ago. And I think before you could even finish asking me the sentence, I was like, I'm in. Where do I go? And it was George's Island. I had a blast. It was an amazing time. So thank you for bringing me in. Thank you, John, and all of you. And I really appreciate it. Again, I'm honored to be part of this tradition and team. And looking forward to scheduling with my scheduling advisor is here too, Dave. So General will help me with the schedule, and he's also helping with uniforms. So we will hopefully have new uniforms next season. All that said, I hope you're all coming to Casey's with us. We'll have some food, spirits, beer.
A couple more things.
We'll have some time. Yeah.
Next, I want to call up the Hall of Famers. One's on here is Doug the Professor Bloomquist, God rest his soul. We had a guy named Kerry Ariel Campasol, but he went to Casey's because
He's thirsty.
his stool was going to be taken. Kyle the Boss DiMagella is not here tonight, missed him. Bob Chucky Nemeth, not here. But we have someone called Greg the Needle Ferrick. Come on down. Hall of Famers, come up. No sliding instructions. Next, David Hops Robinson. Come on down. Next, John Choo Choo Shanahan. Come on down. Ed Rabbit Hunter. Come on down. Peter Mighty Casey Gritson. Come on down. These guys are all in the Hall of Fame now, and they represent the town and the team pretty darn well. And now we're going to announce who the winners are. The first Hall of Fame elector and the unanimous vote is Pipes, Jimmy Pipes. Come here, come on down. Now you joined the team. Hold the graphic too.
Sure, I'll do everything you want.
I appreciate it. You joined the team in 2004 as an outfielder and pitcher, and the musical voice of the team. So thank you very much.
That's true. Thank you so much.
And the next one we have entering to the illustrious union of players are the legend Jay Wyman.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Shake their hands.
Thank you. Congratulations. Good doing it.
And next, before we head over to Casey's, we're going to have a song sung by. Who you sing it? All by yourself?
Right here. No, me and my man.
Hollywood and Pipes.
Hollywood, come on down. Jimmy, come on down.
All right, I'm down.
You're going to sing the Mudville song?
Yes, sir.
The Mudville song.
That's the rumor.
This song is precious.
It's called Ode to Mudville Bay. This song was written by John Shanahan. He just allowed me to write the melody, but the song is John Shanahan. Ode to Mudville, with a siren in the background. Was in 1856 that Mudville first came to be, from the sweat of Irish labor and carved from north and sea. When the children of the famine asked the elders for some more, they said, no, go back to Mudville, for it's there you must endure. Derided and insulted, they stood steadfast, proud and tall, and they built their lives on family and on throne and batted ball.
My whole life has been a blessing, and although I've traveled far, I will go back to Mudville, for it's closest to my heart. I will go back to Mudville, cause it's closest to my heart.
We're almost done. One more thing before we go to Casey's. Everybody, you can't go to Casey's. You can grab a cookie. And then you can saunter over to Casey's. Thank you very much.